Can you find somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of sales experience, but that is humble, hungry, and smart? Patrick Lencioni has coined that phrase, and I've internalized it because it's so true. Humble, hungry, and smart. If you can find a salesperson that is all of those things, you can train them. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This week, I'm going to be jumping into dissecting some of our call last week. I had a call with Alex Gillow over at Inca Stone. And if you haven't taken a look at the insane truck that he's making out of stone, he's doing it out there in that Pittsburgh area. Take a look at it. It's Inca_stone on Instagram. And take a look. It's crazy. Anyway, awesome guy. Had a great conversation. He brought up some really good points. As a business owner, as an outdoor living, hardscape, landscape business owner, at a certain time, we start thinking, well, wait a minute here. How are we going to replace ourselves in the sales department? How are we going to, I just can't keep doing it anymore. The time I want to be with my family, I'm getting older. I'm just getting kind of burned out of constantly running, being in the field, doing all the sales, estimates, all of these things that are going on. So, at a certain point, we started thinking, wait a minute here. How am I going to do that? But the first question, at least the first question that came up for me when I was in those times of my career was, what's going to happen? I've worked years to do what I can do. I know what my close rate is. I know how well I'm doing out there. If it's scary to let go of those reins. It's scary to say, you know what? I'm going to hire somebody else to sell. I mean, we know that without sales, we have nothing in the business, right? Think about it. If we have great production, all the best equipment, we have the best advertisement, the best website, the best everything, but we can't sell, then we don't have any money coming in the front door. We can't pay for the things behind that door, right? So you always hear me talking about this idea of service versus selling, right? Service means it comes from a different spot. If you're thinking selling, a lot of that comes from your head, thinking, I got to sell this person for revenue so I can keep my business open. And what that does is it brings you into your head. And Tony Robbins says it best. He says, if you're in your head, you're dead because you're thinking of logic. We have to be thinking as an industry for our clients, with our clients, from our hearts. And that's where service comes from. When we think from our hearts and we're dialing all of our decisions in on that, and you're thinking, okay, well, I know I'm a business owner. I really want to multiply myself so I don't have to be going out on all these sales calls and all of this stuff. How do I do that in a way that I'm not going to start losing work? Because you need all the work. You don't want to leave a bunch of great projects on the table or have a new sales guy come in and he's straight commission. And all of a sudden he's just telling your clients whatever they need to hear to get a check. And pretty soon, 3 months later, when you're building the project, you just start tearing your hair out because it was wrongly bidded. The client's expectations are all over the place. That person was a yes man or woman telling the client, yes, everything that they possibly wanted to hear was always a yes. And then you're losing money. Right, that's the big fear. It's how do you trust somebody to be able to say the right things at the right time to make sure your company is protected, especially in the sales department. You can get away in the field if you've got other guys watching and they're not laying a paver correctly and they can always get corrected, or bush isn't planted right. You can always move it or adjust it. When it comes to sales, you get one shot. How, as an owner, do you let that go and trust that your teammate, your team member, I don't like the word employee if you haven't noticed yet, your team member is doing a great job and is going to be able to best represent the company and give that client the best experience? Because you've heard me say it before, the better the experience, the better chance of a referral. And a referral is a warm, ready to go customer that wants you to work for them. If we can build an outdoor living company that gets constant referrals coming back in, either from the same client or from friends and family, because you did such a great job and you had them feel something throughout your experience. Man, isn't that the dream? Of not having to spend tons of money on marketing because you don't have to anymore. You hear that in the last conversation with Alex. He does a lot of referral work, and that's the best kind. They pay what you ask, and for the most part, they're ready to go when you sit down and talk to them. There's not such a hard sell. So back to the original thought here as I came into this conversation, it's about how do you, as a business owner, as the primary salesperson, how do you transfer into hiring your first salesperson? And then how do you train them? That's the big question. And like you heard with Alex there, he's focusing on, if you haven't listened to the last episode, swing back and listen to it. It's a great episode. He's an excellent guy, and he's just got a good heart, and I love his personality. But anyway, point is, now you're at that crossroad, you're making that decision. Can you find somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of sales experience, but that is humble, hungry, and smart? Patrick Lencioni has coined that phrase, and I've internalized it because it's so true. Humble, hungry, and smart. If you can find a salesperson that is all of those things, you can train them. The problem is, how do you train somebody to be just like you? And unfortunately, it's not possible. They can learn ideas and tricks and tools and strategies from you, but they're always going to do it their own way unless you create a standard SOP, a process, if you will, of how your company sells. Now, I know that can sound crazy because most companies out there, most contractors that are selling, they don't think much about sales being a process. They think about something they just need to do and say some things to a customer to get that project to move forward. But when you slow it down, meet with less customers, go deeper with each one, you have more time to start thinking about exactly what you're saying, being purposeful, not just winging it each and every time. I know that because I used to wing all of my sales appointments. If I would get a bunch of objections in the middle or even toward the end when it comes to price or timing, or I got to talk to my wife, whatever it might be, I would think if I just knew that one little question I could ask them that would switch them and, go from, I don't want to buy this from you to, I want 3 of them. That would be amazing. So I searched all over for that, but that stuff just isn't true. It's snake oil. Reality is those objections come way earlier in your sales process. But if you don't have a process, you can't go in there and figure out where you need to adjust how you're approaching your client through your sales conversation in order to make it better so that you don't have to deal with those objections at the end. I hope this is making sense, listeners, because it is so important. If you are an owner and you want to hand off the sales responsibility, you have to have a system and a strategy in place that you can both look at and say, that's how we do it here at ABC Landscaping. And we're going to train on that system and not be like, hey, you do it your way, I'll do it my way. We'll keep our fingers crossed that Mrs. Jones gets the same experience from both of us if she bought 2 different projects, one from each of us. That's just not going to happen that way. If you want to build trust in your teammates and you want to build trust in your new salesperson, they need to have confidence and clarity if you want to get them excited about this kind of work, not just, hey, go figure it out and let's hope like heck you can sell stuff. We can't leave it up to guessing and can't just leave it up to keeping our fingers crossed. We have to have a system in place. And when we do, it takes tons of pressure off you as the owner because they're following the system. At least they should be, right? We've got to be watching for that, making sure they're constantly training on those things. Like going to the gym, you're not going to keep a strong physique if you're not constantly working at it. But if everyone's working at something different, then the whole company's going in different directions. It's chaos. Imagine if you had clarity and certainty about one system that could take you from where you are now to as big as you want to get, all with just a little bit of training and then having some maintenance involved in order to keep that new skill sharp. So guys, if you're listening here and you're an owner and you're thinking like, man, I'm ready to start getting somebody in the door in order to start taking on some of the sales stuff. I'm scared. It's okay to admit it, guys. I was scared too. Scared about letting that go. And finally starting to own a business and not your job, getting some time back to go spend time with your family, to go do things you might want to do, like hunting or fishing or heck, whatever, driving go-karts, if that's your thing, whatever it is. If that's what you want, the first step in that is to start delegating some of these responsibilities. And sales is a big one. It's a very big one. And even if you don't want to fully delegate it, like Alex talked about, he still loves doing this. I still love doing what I was doing for years after that. But you can then choose when you go out. Maybe you choose the better times. Maybe you choose the times around the different things you want to do with your family. But at least you have a choice. It's my bigger point. So if you're out there listening, you're like, yep, it's my time. I got to do this. I've been holding off on this. I'm scared deep down, whether you want to admit it or not. I have a hard time trusting others. Are they going to run your business into the ground? Are they going to be selling people the wrong stuff? Is the pricing going to be off? All those things are simple fears. And you know about fears. Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So it's time. It's time to rip that Band-Aid off. It's time to start thinking, you know what? It would be great to hire somebody to take care of that for me and to be part of a team. If that's what you want to do and you don't want to spend the next 10 years trying to figure out how to do it, book a call with me. We do this every day. We work directly with business owners and teams to teach them a sales process specifically only for our industry, for the landscape, hardscape, and outdoor living industry. For projects that are 1,000 to 25,000, that's one option. It's our sales accelerator. Or for projects that are 25,000 and up, where you have a design involved, and we have our sales mastery process in our program that we can take you through step by step, get you trained up and train your teams. This way, even if you bring another salesperson on in 3-4 years from now, you can just send them through the process and they're going to be running on the same system. Everybody in your business is running and they're rowing in the same direction. So the boat gets to move faster and faster. Imagine everybody in a boat rowing in a different direction. That's what it often is like in most sales processes in the construction world. Everybody's just kind of winging it themselves. But imagine if you were all fine-tuned and you were all rowing in the same direction. Imagine how fast your business could grow. So look in the show notes. Book a call with me. I'd love to discuss what you're doing right now, how to make it better, and how you can launch from where you are to where you want to go.